This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, July 19th show. I provide you news on everything money, fresh information on the market trends and conditions in our local economy. If you are hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. But you can always call into the show at 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com, and definitely can get your questions answered and talk to any of the guests that I have in studio today. And in studio right now, Tyler Freed with Windermere Real Estate. If you're a seller, you're probably looking for ways to maximize your potential profit. And if you're a buyer, you're going to want to know what the sellers are doing out there to maximize their profit so that maybe you can win on the other side. Tyler, thanks for coming back in studio. Excited to have you here.
It's good to be back. Thank you for the invite.
And it's really fun with Tyler because Tyler has a radio show as well. And I've been in studio with him and he's been in studio with me. So this back and forth has been kind of fun. So I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, Tyler, to support my show.
Yeah, happy to be here.
And a little bit about Tyler. Tyler's been in the real estate business for the last 10 years and has sold 49 homes in the last 12 months. Now, you don't sell real estate, maybe 49 homes in the last 12 months is really not connecting with you on what that means. It means big. That is a lot of properties and a lot of people to work with in a 12-month period of time. He grew up around real estate with his dad, being in the business for over 30 years. Tyler's currently the branch manager at the Bonnie Lake office. In 2011, he partnered up with Windermere Relocation, where he helps employees relocate in and out of the Puget Sound area. And in 2012, Tyler became a Zillow Premier agent, specializing on the east side. And now he's working with Zillow on their foreclosure program to help buyers understand how distressed inventory works and how to buy real estate owned properties and short sales. So Tyler, I'm excited to kind of focus just on sellers because, you know, there's just never enough time in the day. So it's nice that we just kind of pick one thing that we want to talk about. Otherwise, we're going to be here all weekend. And sellers is the conversation today. So even though the market today, when it definitely is a seller's market, it's important to get the best representation to have the highest profit on your property. What should sellers be asking their agents now? If they're out there interviewing agents, Tyler, what should they be asking? Well,
I think that's just a good point to start with there is definitely go ahead and interview a couple agents. I always like to get a referral from a friend, a neighbor that recently sold and had a really good experience. That's a good route to start with. So select those group of people that are producing. In real estate right now, it's crazy. Really, 10% of the agents are doing 90% of the business. So making sure you're figuring out those 10% and getting them in your house and meeting with you is the start there. And it is, and especially because there is so much knowledge and so much that you have to understand and to be able to do. You've got to have the reputation in the industry. And so if you don't have volume and you're not selling real estate, I would hate to somebody to represent me to sell my house that doesn't have experience doing that. So ask them what they've closed. A referral is always really good because if they made it through that person and they actually still like them, they're probably a good place to start, right, Tyler? Right. And the average agent only sells about 4 houses a year. So a lot of these big producers and a lot of people still do it part-time, which is totally fine. But, you need to be aware of that. You need to ask those questions when you're sitting down with them. Makes total sense. So what type of above and beyond marketing do you offer for your sellers? Well, literally, last week we just got one of those drones, and don't tell anyone. Oh my gosh, are you serious? Yeah. I didn't really hear what you just said there for a second. How awesome is that? Yeah, so we've been kind of messing with it a little bit, but we're going to start shooting some aerial photos, not in the city or anything, but just some houses with some larger lots so you can really get a good scope. So, definitely a little above and beyond with that. Not a lot of agents are offering that, so we're going to do that on some of our featured listings. That is really exciting. So do you see that might be coming up in the future? I think there's companies right now that are doing a lot of it. So it's definitely gives you a really good idea of how kind of flat the property is and the layout of everything. So makes total sense. Yeah, I had a listing I just listed this morning, and they just did an amazing $100,000 backyard remodel with a huge waterfall and everything. So it's gonna be really fun to test it out on that house. Oh my gosh! And we were talking about during Money Shot. I'd mentioned about online. I mean, we know everybody is searching for real estate online. You just need to get out of the computer and actually get out and talk with real people or people voice to voice.
choice. But on the online searches, I mean, that's once they figure out what they want to do, that's how they're seeing their property. So how that property is showing online is huge.
So important. And the high quality photos, we always have professional photographers come out and shoot our listings, and it makes such a big difference when you're searching. You know, if the photos are dark, you just skip and go to the next house. So having really good photos really helps, and we've seen that really help our listing sell fast.
Makes sense. And Tyler, I think, and I've said this before in talking about sellers, and I hear sellers say, my clients that are coming back to me going, you know what, Tina, we're looking at selling our property. We're going to buy another one. What do we do? And they've got this price, and they feel that they can get anything that they want for their home. And the first thing I do is I say, you know what, you need to talk with a realtor. Let me refer you one, connect and find exactly what you can do, and listen to what their advice is, because I think sellers are thinking they can get any price they want because there's no inventory. You can't. You got to price right. So what are you advising in strategies to make sure that you're hitting that exact list price to maximize the potential offers and ultimately profit?
Well, it's really tough to say, hey, I'm going to find a price that I know your home's going to sell for. So I sit down with the sellers, and we're looking at the comps, and we're looking at the neighbors who might have a similar floor plan, and then trying to make a good, a good value of what the home should go for. So if 3 houses down is the same model, we can try and list it maybe a couple % higher and kind of see if we can bring that in, which definitely is reasonable. But it's the people that are going, $50,000 above and sitting, and then they end up getting a lower offer down the road that we try and avoid.
Yeah, and it's really nice when you've got that data that you can actually show a seller and go, you know what, this is what your neighbor did. Look what happened to them. So this is the strategy that we need to do to make sure. And again, if you can put your buyer's hat on, as a seller, you should be putting your buyer's hat on. As a buyer, you should be putting a seller's hat on, because you have a whole different look at it when you're getting out of your situation and over to the other side. And I think as a seller, looking at a buyer and what they would be doing, looking at online, they're seeing the price, and they're putting their search criteria together based on price. They're deleting properties based on price. So I think it's just really, really important to make sure that you have it priced correctly. And again, that's having the best representation that can educate you on that. And I think a lot of these hungry agents out there that are selling 4 properties a year, and some they're lucky if they sell 4 properties a year, they're going to tell a seller whatever they want because they want to get that listing. Right.
It's very important that you don't make that mistake. Like we mentioned earlier, interview 2 or 3 agents, but don't always go with the agent that's got the highest price. I mean, I see that mistake made so many times. That first offer that comes in, basically the second your home hits the market, that's when you need to be priced right, because the first, 2 to 3 weeks when people are coming through, those are most likely going to be the people that are going to end up buying the home. So it's got to be priced right and ready to go. And, if you miss those first buyers, you might be sitting for a while.
Exactly. And I think when you're going through the initial process, you're probably not even ready to put it on the market right now, because there's going to be things that you're doing. So how can you even price a home at that first meeting? You don't know if they're going to be selling their home a month from now as they're getting it ready. It's going to be a completely different market. So it's just interesting how that game can get played. So some sellers want to price their home high and then have a little bit of wiggle room. What would you advise if a seller said that?
Looking back at, doing this for 10 years, the people that we've done that with, those are the ones that had the 4, 5, 6 month market time. And then at the end of the day, you got to look what's important to you. Is the goal to get the most amount of money? Well, then, having that wiggle room might not be the best route to go. I mean, are you trying to sell quickly? Yep. Both of those things are going to come into they're going to stop you in your tracks if you're going high like that. So
let's say, Tyler, that somebody is really cutting it tight. I mean, those margins, they have to get this amount. Otherwise, they're going to be in a place that's not good financially for them. How do you work through those tight margins? What do you do?
We're seeing a lot of sellers that are in that situation where they're ready, they've outgrown their homes, and the market's picking up, so they can just barely scrape by. So what I'm doing on our listings is putting in the agent remarks that list price is the seller's bottom line, or they might have to bring a check to the table. So they know right away, hey, if you've got a buyer that's going to try and lowball this is the house to skip. But if they really like the house, sometimes the value of the home is kind of what a seller's worth to sell for it, right?
Sure.
Especially in our market right now, if it's a reasonable price like we talked about.
Yeah, makes sense. So we also talked about doing maybe a little bit of work on the house before hitting the market to maximize price. So what are you advising your sellers to do?
Well, it's very important. I think when I go on a tour, or even when I'm driving around just kind of looking at houses, is you can tell how good that house looks inside by how the outside looks.
Yep.
So fresh beauty bark always. If the paint's peeling on your trim or the roof's messed up, those things all need to be done because those are normal maintenance things that your neighbor's home, 3 houses down, that just sold, that they're taking care of. Mm-hmm. So it's not really an upgrade that we're seeing that stuff's done, but definitely is going to help your home sell faster if that front of the home looks really good.
So, Tyler, what about how much of the factor does a real estate company make with selling homes?
That's a good question. There's a lot of little mom and pop firms out there, which are great that, do a little bit of business there. But Windermere has a third of the market share in the Puget Sound. The reason we have that is I think we have some of the best agents out there.
Yeah.
These agents, they're really the 10% doing the 90% of the business. Mm-hmm. They're training themselves harder. They're the full-time agents that are putting the work in. So it's very important to have an agent that's full-time like we talked about when we started today, and someone that, you've seen be successful. I think it can go a long way with that market knowledge. They're going to have more access to buyers than some of these other smaller firms.
And I think at Windermere, too, I don't think I know. The education's unbelievable. The culture is unbelievable. So you attract what you are as a company, and that's why they have such, high quality realtors. So if any agent can get on and get their home onto the MLS, why do so many sellers, why are they choosing Windermere?
Well, we see a lot of firms that there's little shops where they can just put it right on the MLS, just pay a fee, and then you can basically handle everything yourself. But with Windermere and some of these other well-known firms, you're getting the brokers community involved by having it listed with them. There was a study with the Puget Sound Business Journal. Windermere ranked #1 in terms of other agents, how comfortable they felt working with particular firms.
Yep.
So I think that goes a long ways. And then just, people that maybe have sold 5-10 houses in a lifetime, everything changes so much. So it's so important that you have an agent that's doing this every day and maximizing the value of your home.
And I like you mentioned the other agent because it's really important, especially on the buyer side right now, because it's so competitive, that the agent that's representing the seller, and I, again, put the other hat on, the agent that represents the seller, they've got a choice of offers here. And so they are looking at that representation for the buyer to make sure that they are with a reputable company, they are with somebody that's experienced, and the better reputation you have in the industry, the better chance your buyer is going to have their offer accepted. Now, money says a lot. Obviously, if you got an offer that's going to net the seller another $5,000, that's a different story. But you're seeing things really, really close, and so these things all matter a whole bunch.
Yeah, it's such a small world in real estate. You'll come back and you'll work with the same agents over and over again. So definitely important there. So,
Tyler, what if the first offer is lower than the asking price? Well, is that happening right now?
Down south, we're seeing it a little bit. It's kind of almost transitioning a little bit more of a buyer's market the farther south you go.
Really?
Into Pierce County there.
Okay.
So if that first offer is lower, you don't have to take it, obviously. You guys direct everything as the sellers. You can determine the closing timeline and the concessions and everything. But sometimes, in my experience, usually that first offer is the best offer. These buyers are worried about losing the home. Yeah. They've got a sense of urgency. There's a lot of competition. Another offer might come in. So,
So, Tyler, heading a break here, but I want to ask you one really important question. Is it a good time for people to sell their property now?
I think so. I think there's a window of opportunity right now that we're going to see until about the end of August when kids start going back to school. Mm-hmm. People are out there looking right now. Sunshine's out usually brings the buyers out. That's what I always tell sellers. So right now is a really good time, and rates are still really good right now.
I don't know why they just keep hanging out where they are. They got to go up sometime. Yeah. So I totally agree. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for coming back in studio. It's great again seeing you on the other side of the desk here.
Thanks, Tina, for having me. We'll hopefully see you soon.
I'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, increase your home's value and curb appeal with, instead of replacing your concrete, save time, money, and be a little nicer to the environment. We've got Patrick Hayes and Shannon Dodge with Superior Slab Jacking right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.